Is Starmer scared of Jess Phillips? I've met her a couple of times. She's pretty formidable. She's very outspoken. Is Starmer worried if he sacks her, she's going to go to the back benches and start slagging him off to everyone?
So Keir Starmer's got to step up to the game, because we all know he never wanted to give this rape gang inquiry. We all know that actually he's dithering here because he's afraid of the Muslim vote, but he now has to make sure that this inquiry happens.
It sounds like, from what you're saying, we are going to have a full-on civil war within the Labour Party.
Yeah, he's bad, but who we've got to choose between is worse going forward. So some of them feel inaction is the best way forward. I say you could drag anybody off the street at the moment and they'd be better than Keir Starmer.
Hello and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, and as always on a Thursday, I'm joined by Tory MP Esther McVey. Esther, you're looking great today.
Oh, thank you very much.
You smell
indeed.
fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I hear it's your birthday?
Tomorrow certainly is. So what I say, you've got to celebrate for every year that you've been on the planet, which says I'll be partying till about Christmas. Not giving my age away, but I'll be partying for some time.
And I've also noticed no wedding ring, no engagement ring. Something to tell us?
It's not breaking news. Phil and I haven't separated, not at
Okay.
all. Look, I use the tube. I use public transport. I have to say, in Sadiq Khan's London, I don't feel safe on the tube. Therefore, I don't give anybody reason to think they're going to, steal anything or do anything to me. So it's about safety and a precaution.
Oh, gosh. And Phil's okay with that? You walking around like a single lady?
All the single ladies sounds like a bit of a Beyonce song there. Well, I'm afraid that is a sad indictment, and I would love to be wearing jewellery because I'm very proud of them, but I'm not in London at the moment.
Gosh, well, thank you, Sadiq Khan. Anyway, brace yourselves. Esther's here, and she's brought all the Westminster gossip we're not supposed to know about. It's been a brutal week for Labour, hasn't it, Esther?
It has, and I'd say be under no illusion, but this last week the lights have gone out on Starmer's regime. We know it's been a death by 1,000 cuts, but even his most ardent of supporters now know the game's up. And I'll tell you for why. His flagship policies are collapsing. The immigration one in, one out. What a mockery that's been of that. You've also seen the rape gang inquiry in chaos. People have lost trust in him and in his ministers. You've also got this taxing of the middle classes because of Reeves has destroyed the economy. The sentencing bill that he's brought forward is going to basically dismantle law and order in the UK. And you've now seen the vultures circling. So you saw that audacious leadership bid by Angela Rayner when she gave her resignation speech. It was clumsy, it was inappropriate, but she did it. You've also seen Blair, the ghost of Labour past, coming out to haunt him. And you've also got Lucy Powell, who's now at the weekend probably going to be the deputy leader of the party, and she is the anti-Starmer candidate. And you've got this Caerphilly by-election, which Labour's held this for like 100 years. It looks like it's going to lose it, probably to Reform. So if I was going to give you a visual for what's happened this week, I would call it Keir's kaplunk. Absolutely, all of the marbles are falling down. The wall is falling down on his leadership.
Well, let's delve in deeper in some of these issues. Let's start with the grooming gangs, because overnight, 4 of the victims, in fact, I don't even like saying victims, 4 of the survivors have said they would return to the inquiry panel only if Phillips quits. Now, we covered the story yesterday, but I want to get the inside track from our Westminster whisperer. Phillips has got to go, hasn't she? She's no longer tenable for this position.
Absolutely, she's got to go. But the difficulty here, Starmer should have sacked her straight away. But he didn't. He's dithered and he hasn't sacked her. So you've got so many other people calling for her to go. So whether, as you say, that's the survivors on the panel, whether that is Kemi Badenoch, the leader of, the Tory party, they're all saying she's got to go, which has put him in a difficult position. So now he'll probably have to force her to resign. I mean, lots of people are saying she'll be sacked on Monday. I actually think he's in a very difficult position. But whatever it is, she has got to go because trust in him and her and the inquiry has gone altogether.
Yeah.
But if this inquiry is meant to be for those women now who've been let down, not trusted, being called liars, right, this was their last chance to actually have faith in the establishment with this inquiry. If it collapses, then this shows that really the Labour Party will as well. So this is a pivotal moment for the Labour Party. So Keir Starmer's got to step up to the game, because we all know he never wanted to give this rape gang inquiry. We all know that actually he's dithering here because he's afraid of the Muslim vote, but he now has to make sure that this inquiry happens. And you've seen bit by bit it falling apart. As I said, you've seen those victims saying they don't want to be a part of it. But it wasn't just that they want Jess Phillips to resign. They've also said the chair can't be somebody part of the establishment. It can't be a police person. It can't be a social worker. They let them down. They've also said that they can't be fearful of speaking out. They felt it's been a very toxic environment for them. They feel that they have been shut down and they've been called liars. And the scope, most importantly, has to focus on Pakistani rape gang, what went on, not broaden it out to all kinds of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And also, and this is critical here, the victim liaison lead, they want her gone, somebody they can trust in, who's maybe got mental health support and knowledge. And this is for why? Because the advisor had said it is destructive and it is distracting and it is irresponsible to say that child sexual abuse was committed overwhelmingly by gangs of brown men on young white girls. And they're saying this isn't the person who should be the advisor when they've already got a predisposed view to how things are. So do you see what I mean? Keir really is in a very delicate position here. This has got to be worked. And what I asked him a long, long time ago, back in June, when it was meant to be of vital importance, I said, you're not kicking the can down the road, are you? You're not hoping that if you drag this out long enough, we'll have a general election, therefore you won't have to do anything. And this appears to be what he's doing.
Is Starmer scared of Jess Phillips? I've met her a couple of times. She's pretty formidable. She's very outspoken. Is Starmer worried if he sacks her, she's going to go to the back benches and start slagging him off to everyone?
Well, this is always a problem when you're the leader and you get rid of people. That's what happens. People go to the back benches and they've got friends and they all start scheming. However, Jess Phillips has discredited herself. I would go as far as to say she has touted all the time that she was the champion of women, of women's rights. I would say she was a disgrace. She said that in opposition and she has done nothing in power. If anything, she's conflicted. Again, her seat is very vulnerable to the Muslim vote and it looks like she is looking after herself, which one of the survivors also said, she's just looking out for herself, and I think that is it. So I don't think he's got anything to fear for Jess Phillips going to the backbench. She is conflicted. She's a spent force. She's let herself down. And I have to say, because I watched it closely, her performance this week in Parliament was a disgrace and a disaster, how she answered the questions. Yeah. And it was all about her, wasn't it? Like, I'm a victim. You're questioning me. No, Jess, it's not about you. It's about the thousands of girls who have been raped, could still be getting raped. So please get back in your box. We don't want to hear about you and your views. Let's focus on what this is about. And I think she let herself down hugely.
Why didn't the Tories set up a full national probe when they were in power? They could have done, and they didn't. So why we can all blame Labour for the shambles that's going on now, but the Tories had a lot more time in power than Starmer's had.
Okay, so they set up a task force, Rishi did, and which hundreds were arrested and were sent to prison. So he did set up a task force. Now, am I saying he should have done more? Absolutely, I think he should have. But when he came in, if you remember, there was so much going wrong and you've got to prioritise things. My husband, Philip Davis, who was the MP for Shipley, had said for years and worked with the Labour MP, who was in the Keighley seat, and Cryer, something's got to be done. But I cannot tell you over so many years how much they were ignored. So they went to the Labour councils, which predominantly was, this is a problem for Keir Starmer as well, Labour councils, Labour MPs, Labour areas, and they went to people and it was as if they were in the wrong. Yeah. So they were smeared. Sarah Champion as well, she was smeared. This cannot be happening, this cannot be true. So it's taken a long time, actually, for people to catch up with what was going wrong. And these girls, as I said, who are now women, have fought this for years and years. And that's why it was so toxic for Jess Phillips to say what they'd said was untrue about the broadening of the scope, calling them liars yet again when they've been through that all of their life. That's why she's got to go.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Angela Rayner. She returned to Commons yesterday, gave her resignation speech. I thought it was strange she had to come in and give a resignation speech. Is this tradition? Is that what should happen?
Well, you don't actually have to give a resignation speech. You can. A lot of it's about ego if you do, or you're making a statement yourself. And I'll tell you for why. Because I resigned under Theresa May's government when she was Prime Minister about Brexit, but I never came to give a speech. It's not about me. It was about Brexit. Right? So Angela's was an audacious bid for leadership of the Labour Party. I would say, though, it was incredibly clumsy and badly timed, really. Did we need to be reminded that she was a tax dodger? Do you see what I mean? Did we need to be reminded? No, she didn't. So what she did there when she came down, and again, I watched this closely, what she had to say. She was very clear that she was a socialist. She was looking for the backing within the party and within the trade unions. She said very clearly, I've been written off in the past. Well, that was a clear message. Don't write me off because I am back. And that's what basically she said. I am here. There was no tone of apology in it. She never said, I did anything wrong. She condescendingly said, I couldn't believe it, I will pay my taxes. The reality is, love, you wouldn't have paid your taxes if you hadn't have been found out. But she's paying her taxes as if she's doing us all a favour. Everybody pays their taxes, thank you very much indeed. She also talked about what she's done right, about the Employment Rights Bill, which I'd say is a disaster because that's going to force more people into unemployment than anything else. She talked about the Renters Bill, again, a disaster because we're going to have fewer houses now in the market for people to rent. But she was talking about this one after another, what she'd done. Here she is. And the reason, which is her strong card, which she played, is I'm the only authentic working class woman here in the Labour Party. None of you are, and she's right, a lot of them now are all sort of lawyers, all sort of middle class, all sort of Oxbridge, all mini-me's, I'd call them, of Sir Keir Starmer. And that's what she was saying. And that's what the applause was, because they know that she, in a way, is the only authentic voice. So that's what I'm saying. Starmer now knows the vultures are circling, and she was right up there. Brazen, I'd say this bid was.
So what do you think her political ambitions are now?
Leadership, that's what she's going for.
It.
The union's behind her. She will be leadership. She's coming forward because if she's working it out, and this is what people are doing, and we've talked about this before, and that's why I say death by 1,000 cuts for Starmer. So much has gone wrong, whether it was Mandelson, whether it was her, whether it's all the ministers he has lost. But the big one, apart from this week where all of his key policies are being dismantled, is going to be those local elections next May. It's going to be the carefully by-election, which people are going to the polls right now voting on that. So she needs to be primed for May. She needs to say, I'm here, here's my backing, because she knows Ed Miliband is ahead of her on the left. But on the right, it will be Bama and also Wes Streeting, who will be going for the right of the party. But she is there, and that's why she's touting her wares now.
Okay, well, replacing Rayner as deputy, it's going to be Lucy Powell or Bridget Phillipson. What are your thoughts on both those women?
Okay, so Bridget Phillipson, I sort of knew, and I, passed the time of day with her and speak to her when she was in opposition. I have to say, since she's taken the position of Education Secretary, she has changed. She's like a woman on a mission. She seems to have gone vicious. She seems to have gone nasty. She wants to dismantle all of the sort of private education. She wants to run down education. She's a strange sort of woman. I also think she shouldn't have gone for the deputy leadership. She was, as it were, Keir Starmer's stooge. I do believe Shebane was asked whether she would. She said, absolutely no way. I'm on a hiding to nothing. I will not. So he was touting other people to see if they'd be the deputy leader. She was the only one who done it because it is the anti-Keir candidate, who is Lucy Powell, who's going to win it.
Okay.
And I will also say, how dangerous is this, that the woman who's probably this weekend going to become deputy leader, do you remember what she said? She talked about the rape gang inquiry as if it were a dog whistle to the racism. Far right. So this ain't going to be good either for the Labour Party if that's who they've got as their deputy leader.
Yeah. So are we going to have, it sounds like from what you're saying, we are going to have a full-on civil war within the Labour Party.
Yeah. It's already started. But there's a couple of things speaking to Labour backbenchers. A lot of them are saying, well, He's bad, but who we've got to choose between is worse going forward. So some of them feel inaction is the best way forward. I say you could drag anybody off the street at the moment and they'd be better than Keir Starmer. But they're sort of paralysed, a lot of the backbenchers not knowing which way to go because they don't like
anyone.
The alternatives,
Let's talk about one of my favourite politicians ever, Sir Tony Blair. He and his think tank, Tony Blair Institute, have been hitting into Ed Miliband, saying that we should basically scrap our 2030 clean energy target and focus on lowering bills instead. I think that is pure common sense. Once again, Tony Blair leading from the front and saying what needs to be said.
Okay, so on this instance, Blair is right.
On this instance, you're so clear. I don't agree with Blair. On this one occasion, he's got it correct.
Well, and again, he's got it right, but he's only joining forces with what both Kemi Badenoch has said and Nigel Farage has said. And I have always said you need to make sure for your energy policies you've got security of energy, affordability of energy, and reliability of energy. And what he's saying, you're going to push people into poverty and you're going to destroy businesses. Ed Miliband, what are you doing? This is impossible. But I will call him the ghost of Labour past, Tony Blair. And he's coming back now. And he is haunting Keir Starmer, isn't he? Because I don't agree with, absolutely I don't, but he's pushing digital ID. So that was Blair's thing that he always wanted to do. He's pushing that through the Institute. He's also said illegal immigration is a problem this week. He sided with Kemi and not Keir, saying that if you're a legal immigrant, you cannot get asylum status. Well, I agree with that. But there's quite a few other things that he's meant to be doing at the moment, which should be taking up his time. He's meant to be the Gaza peacekeeper. He's meant to be working, isn't he, in the Middle East with Trump. But I also think this man Tony Blair is the father of pretty much all of today's disasters. And I'll tell you for why. The calamitous invasion of Iraq under a false premise of weapons of mass destruction really fueled the mass movement of people we see today, and also the hatred of the UK because Tony Blair destroyed their homeland, right? He unnecessarily also opened the borders to Europe, let millions of people come in here, which he didn't need to do. He expanded quangos, which meant that you don't have elected politicians ruling the country. What you actually have is unelected left-wing cronies running the country, which are now breeding at a rate of knots. The digital ID he brought in, and I will end on here because there's so many, he brought in the disastrous Human Rights Act, which ties in the ECHR to our domestic law. The man has caused untold damage to the country. He's now, hopefully, all I can hope for is he does untold damage to Keir Starmer.
More millionaires created under Tony Blair than any other political leader.
Yeah, probably all his mates and all his cronies.
Nothing I say about Sir Tony you're going to agree with.
No, I don't think. I think when people look back, literally, and I've just rattled off a list here, he is the start of the destruction of the UK. He really was.
No, I won't have that. You're lucky you're a regular guest on this show. I'll kick you out right now. But you're right.
I think the viewers know I'm right. I think they'll know that Tony Blair was a disaster.
Let us know in the comments. Who do you agree with, me or Esther? Was Tony Blair a disaster, or was Boris Johnson and this Boris wave the problem with immigration?
Oh, I'm not going to defend Boris Johnson. I'm not going to defend Boris Johnson.
Good.
I'm afraid we needed to finish Brexit, but unfortunately we went into lockdown and Brexit was never completed what it needs to be, which is about the trade deals, which is about prosperity for our nation. And he was lax on immigration. The reason I was in his cabinet for a little while and not afterwards, because I kept saying to him, I'm concerned about immigration. You need to get Brexit done. Also, what are we doing about social housing and housing for people like emergency workers? And he didn't like to hear it.
Yeah. I would also say about Tony Blair to our Irish viewers and listeners, the Good Friday Agreement, pretty good deal.
Well, that, had, if you remember, had been started under John Major as well. And you are right, and I'm not going to be churlish or childish on this. It was important that this was carried forward and we got that. But it didn't happen just then. It was years and years in the making. But I think if you look at all of the other examples I'll give you, and Iraq was a disaster for the world and our country. And I think you can pinpoint this mass movement of people, this hatred of people to the UK down to him and his phony reason, weapons of mass destruction.
Blame Bush, don't blame Blair. Anyway, you touched on this point earlier, Wales, Caerphilly. You ever been there?
I don't think I have, actually. Oh, no, I have.
Yeah?
I have on a trip. Yes, I have.
What's it like? They've voted Labour for over 100 years. Is it just a really lovely little place and everyone walks around saying, oh, hello, in their Welsh accents?
Well, I can't say I know it that way, but I'm absolutely sure it is. I think the big story here, though, over 100 years, this has been Labour land, as it were.
Yeah.
And now it's going to collapse,
To
reform. You've got Plaid Cymru in there as well, which is going to split the vote. But Labour will be pushed into third place. And this is the dismantling, really, of Labour. And it's such an epic moment for them.
Gerwyn Price, a Welsh darts player, he's backed reform on social media. It's suddenly, it used to be, let's say even 8 months ago, to publicly say you supported reform, people would be saying, oh, you're a racist, you're a fascist, whatever. Now we've got actual celebrities coming out and saying, yeah, I'm gonna vote for reform. It's now completely accepted.
Yes, and I think what people will also see, places like North Liverpool, which has been dominated again by Labour and Labour supporters in that area, is now also, that area is moving across to reform. Areas like St Helens is moving across to reform. Wigan, Bolton, so many areas in the northwest that would have been Labour are now saying, you've let us down.
Yeah.
You do not stand for what we stand for.
Yeah.
You're pushing us into poverty, you're destroying, as I say, if we looked at the sentencing bill and what's gone on there, destroying law and order, destroying our livelihood, doing nothing, and this is the key one, doing nothing on immigration.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've not smashed the gangs. You've not done one in, one out. It is a disaster. And that circling back round and coming back into the country is making a mockery of him.
So I feel like the working class areas across the country have finally woken up, because for so long, I'm from a working class area. We're born and bred to support Labour. That's it. You were born in a working class area. Labour is what we are. We have to identify with. It's like we're almost forced into Labour. Now, with reform, finally there's another option for people to say, well, actually, Labour haven't made things any better for us. We don't want to support the Tories because historically the Tories are also bad for us. But we're a Labour area. Who can we turn to? And this is why we're now seeing reform surging.
Back in 2012, I set up something called Blue Collar Conservatives, Blue Collar Britain. And actually, Boris benefited from that. Hence, he got his big 80-seat majority. This was about Brexit. This was the fact people hated, really, Corbyn. He got a lot because that, again, that sort of metropolitan, ultra-left leaning, sort of anti the country feeling that they got from Jeremy Corbyn meant that people moved across to Boris. Now, Brexit was never completed. So they're saying, do you know what? We want our voice heard. We didn't get it heard there, and we want it heard now because we are right at the cutting edge of what goes on. We feel the pain first. It doesn't matter about immigration. It doesn't matter if it's about jobs. It doesn't matter about the cost of living, because we are living right on the edge there.
Yeah.
And that is why now they're saying we're going to move to reform. I want them to come back to the Conservative Party, because to me, they're aligned with us, whether that's law and order, whether that is social mobility, aspiration, small state, empower the individual. But because of what Keir's done, because of what's happened in the past, they're moving across.
Now, let's return to a story that shocked the nation at the beginning of the year, and we now have some closure on. The teenager convicted of the murder of Harvey Woolgoose has been named and sentenced to life with a minimum of 16 years in prison. Mohammed Umar Khan, who was 15, was handed the sentence by the judge on Wednesday after being found guilty in August of stabbing Harvey in a Sheffield secondary school. Khan's identity had not been previously reported because of his age, but the order was lifted after applications from a number of my media colleagues. The judge said his age alone did not justify maintaining his anonymity, and that the public will wish to know the identity of those who commit such serious offences. Finally, some common sense from our judiciary. Thank goodness for that, Esther.
Yes, I mean, this was deeply, deeply horrific. I think it's distressing. It says so many things on so many different levels that a young boy in school could stab so violently a fellow pupil.
Yeah.
And this is outrageous. She was right. I think her name was Judge Ellen Bogan, came out and said, this is who it is. We all want this transparency.
Yeah.
Who is it? What is it? Is he a member of a gang? Is it cultural difference? Mohammed Khan? What is it? Why did he think he could go to school with a hunting knife? Is this how he thinks you deal with the situation? So you're not going through the law. You're not going through sort of a process of speaking, negotiation to solve the matter. It's all meant to be about a little dispute on social media. You kill somebody, you stab somebody. Absolutely wrong. Now, my concern, and I've spent most of the last week opposing Labour's sentencing bill, because people need a deterrent. People need to know, should you take the life of somebody else's, I'm afraid you are being locked up for life. They need to know that you cannot do this. You cannot walk around and break the law and think there are no consequences to your actions, right? This bill, and people don't really understand how awful it is just yet, this will release tens of thousands of people out of prison who've committed some of the worst offences. And worst, on the way in, you're not going to get sent to prison, you're going to get a suspended sentence. So this, if you're caught repeatedly with a knife, should have been 6 months mandation into prison. Not now, because anything a year or less will be a suspended sentence. What message is that sending out for knife crime? So I put in a new sort of clause, an amendment to say this cannot be right. We need to stop this. Labour said no because they want to turf everybody out of prison. They want 2/3 of people in prison out of prison. Just what is that going to do to the streets of the UK? And the other thing it's also doing, which Labour people and Conservative MPs brought forward, if you attack an emergency worker, a police officer, you need to be sent to prison. We need to see that justice is served. Well, actually, from what they're doing now, they won't. So I brought in a new clause, 43, to say, no, we need to protect our emergency workers, policemen, people who work in prisons. But you name it, they've got to be protected. So this crime, horrific, these people need to know there is a deterrent. And this government is now, as we speak, removing all deterrents to crime.
Well, I completely agree with you. I think you're 100% right on that. What does it say about the local community where this crime happened in Sheffield? Because this Khan boy had apparently been caught with knives before in school many times, and he wasn't suspended. He wasn't expelled. He was allowed to continue going to school.
Well, this should have been a police matter straight away. So I'm glad this week that, common sense, as you'd say, has prevailed, and the Met will no longer be going after no crime hate incidents. They're going to be focused on crime. This young boy was a danger to society. He now has killed somebody else. He should have been, whether it stopped from going to school, whether it was some kind of a rehabilitation he needed to go on, this shouldn't have been allowed to have progressed as far as it had. And the fact that people knew he was a danger and did nothing is wrong, because unfortunately police have been distracted by hurty words on Twitter, distracted by busybodying into other people's lives, when really they should have been dealing with the most dangerous people in society.
And finally, some news that will shock the nation. Make sure you're comfortable and please brace yourselves for this. Bombshell. Are you ready? Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman are to leave Strictly Come Dancing together after the latest series ends. Boo-hoo-hoo. The duo shared a video statement on Instagram today announcing the news of their departure to fans. They said, "We have loved working as a duo and hosting Strictly has been an absolute dream." Tess has hosted the show for 21 years, while Claudia has been presenting since 2014 on the main show, but has actually been involved in spin-off shows since 2004. People apparently are devastated about this, Esther. My big question is, how have they lasted this long? Tess Daly is so wooden. All this fake laughter and the little terrible jokes they tell between scenes. I'm surprised she wasn't sacked before now.
So are you saying that Tess and Claudia have waltzed off together? And you're saying not before long. Look, I don't know. But what I would say, see that letter of resignation that they have written. I think Sir Keir Starmer should read it. I think he should take a page out of their book, and he too should resign. It would seem only the right thing to do.
Do you think this signifies perhaps the end of Strictly coming soon?
No, I doubt it. I think, if people still enjoy it, if they're still watching it, though, I think the numbers are dipping down. There always seems to be the curse of Strictly, doesn't it? Whether that's love affairs or whether that's, I don't know, relationships breaking up or whatever it is. And maybe they just thought they want to go and do other things. But of course, Claudia's got another very successful show. So she's going to Pastors New and enjoying that. And they set it up. How many years it's been going on? About 10 years or something? Long time.
2001, I think the first show was.
Wow.
Well,
it
back
is
with
a long
Bruce
time.
Forsyth and Tess Daly.
Well, it is a long time.
Yeah, too long. I think something bad is going on. That's what I think. I don't think it has anything to do with Tess and Claudia. I think there's some bad stuff going on behind the scenes, and they're trying to distance themselves from it, so they're leaving. They could have just said at the end of the series, that's our last one. And that'd be it. No, I was like, oh, that's a shame. Like a football manager says at the end of the series.
So you're saying this is a statement, really, distancing themselves from what is going on.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Would you ever do Strictly? We've had loads of politicians do Strictly.
I have been asked to do so many of the different shows, whatever,
Big Brother, The Jungle,
the Dancing on Ice.
Oh,
and I thought, you could see all the headlines, though, couldn't you? Politician. Skating on thin ice.
Yeah.
The other one I was asked to do, do you remember this? The Jump.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Terrifying. I thought, ending up in hospital there. They're all trying to get rid of me. I was also, what was it? The one in the jungle.
Yeah, I'm a Celebrity.
I was asked to go on that.
And you turned that down?
And I turned it down, yes. No, none of these are for me. Look, I'm in the house.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in a celebrity house, right? I'm in the Houses of Commons, right? That is my job. That is what I was going to do. But I did ask loads of questions about the jungle. How does it work? What do you expect? Etc. etc. So I was curious.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I remember thinking, so you remember when Nigel Farage was caught in the bath and they got that picture? Because I'd asked the question, how do you make sure you're not caught in the shower or in the bath? That's the last thing I want, right? That is so the last thing I want. Anyway, they said, don't say anything or don't sing or don't draw attention to yourself and then we won't. Right. And I thought he didn't, and they did. Oh. And they also, cleanliness is not a great thing. I said, what if you want to wear contact lenses? There's no proper water to wash your hands. You have to leave set to put in your contact lenses to come out. So I thought, hygiene's not good. Yeah. The whole thing wasn't work. But really, for a politician, I didn't think it was right for me to do that.
Okay, because your mate, what was her name?
Nadine Dorries.
Nadine Dorries, yeah. Yes. She's not been shy of joining I'm a Celeb, and obviously she lost the whip for it.
Look, my commitment is to your constituents. You're in there. So how long are you going to be out? What are people going to say? What are you doing? No, it isn't. It isn't for me.
Oh, good. Principled. Well,
but JJ, you and this show is for me, right?
Perfect. Fantastic. Have a happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
21 again.
Absolutely. Plus the VAT and the years I've slept, as my dad said. But I won't say the VAT now because it would actually make me older under this Labour government as all the taxes are going up.
That is all we've got time for. Thank you for watching Daily Expresso. Join us tomorrow where we'll answer the best questions, letters and comments from you lot. Until then, keep dancing.